Welcome to the video everyone, and as you all know, I am of the mindset that we are in Revelation 20, Satan's season, and that season is of immense deceit. And so my fascination has been surrounded in recent months, and probably the last year really, has been surrounded by the lack of knowledge that we have over the Anglo-Saxons and Norman conquest. And I was recently questioning in my mind, where did the Anglo-Saxons flee to when the Normans arrived here? Because I'd just done a video on Henry VIII and his oppression of the Scots and the Celts. And I wanted to know, did the Anglo-Saxons stay in the UK or did they flee somewhere else? And I actually learned that they fled to Armorica. yeah, Armorica. I've never heard of this place before. And it's even written in my 1800s dictionary. And you know, the 1800s is when they found the dinosaur bone, and they said, hang on, a new bone, this must be a dinosaur. So we can take that with a pinch of salt, but I'll show you it anyway. But I'd never heard of Armorica, and I was in fits of laughter when I learned that the Anglo-Saxons fled to Armorica. I couldn't stop laughing, and you know why I'm laughing. You know why I'm laughing about that, because you're thinking it too. You're thinking Armorica. Hey, that name sounds familiar to me. Right? Are you thinking that too? Because that's exactly how I'm thinking about this. So yeah, let's do a deep dive into Armorica, shall we? So we are told that sorry. We're told that Anglo-Saxons fled to Armorica, and that's Brittany, North France. And well, let's have a look at the history, modern day history of America, shall we? And so let's have a look back at that. So we are told that America derives from the Italian explorer Amerigo Vespucci or something. Oh, that will be because it sounds similar, right? America, Amerigo, yeah, because you're going to name it after something that it sounds familiar to and similar to, aren't you? Yeah. And that one explorer dated back to the 1500s. Yeah. That's where the name came from. So let's also have a look. The flag of Armorica. Oh yeah. Again, it's a little bit familiar, that flag, don't you think? And it's interesting because it's got that black and white look about it. And I've been talking about the Freemasons and the Anglo-Saxons over the last few videos. Yeah, interesting that. So getting a bit more serious again now, I was looking into Armorica, and while I was looking into it, I went to a charity shop and I found all of these maps. It was just like they were placed there for me to find. It was so bizarre how they were there, and it's like God telling me that, you know, keep on looking into this. So we will have a look at these maps, and I want to put a question to you, or a theory to you, and see what you have to say about this. But these three maps, they were Africa, Tartaria, and also, Amerigo, or America, or Armorica as well. And just to remind you that this is the American flag, It's different to the Armorican flag, okay? They're very different, so don't forget that. So we're told that Christopher Columbus discovered this new world in 1492. So I want to have a look back at the North American map which I found in the charity shop. You know, I keep watching alternative history channels, and they've got endless maps like this, and there's already pre-existing kind of towns and cities on them, and I'm now questioning, rather than this being a discovery, oh yeah, these towns have been discovered or whatever, is it conquering? Is this a map of which towns and areas in America were conquered? Because 1400 was the Norman conquest, which was authorised by the Pope. So, is this, and the Pope is the Roman Church, it's the Roman Empire basically. So, are these maps of the areas which have been conquered by the Roman Empire in America? Armorica. It is Armorica, this, yeah. So I'd like your thoughts on that, please. So it's talking here about the old Celtic meaning of it, which means land or country, or the vast one, earth. So, I mean, that's interesting. Obviously, the claim is that Armorica was only this Celtic land of Brittany and related to that area. Of course, it's just strange that Armorica has a very similar name to America and a very similar flag to America as well. It's all just a coincidence, of course. So Armorica is Celtic. It's a Celtic place, and by that standard, with the coincidences, does that make America a Celtic land as well, with the Scots? Because, you know, there's a lot of Freemasonry going on in America, and you look at that. You look at the flag, that black and white flag. You know, it's. And then you've got the Scottish Freemasons, is it? Wow, what is going on here? I've got no idea. You see, Israel and Judah, they were once one. And there's been divides and wars between the two of them. And they are always... Judah and Israel have constantly fought. And 10 tribes of Israel left. In the end, they left. But what's to say that Judah didn't come and conquer Israel for Satan's season, something like that? And I just want to go over some issues about Charles, who is a descendant of David, King David, who was Judah. And apparently the lost tribes, you know, they can't be found and everything. But the Bible says very different. The Bible says that in the end we do come together. The 10 tribes of Israel do find each other. It also says, and they went upon the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven and devoured them. Because this is them starting a battle. And shall go out and deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth. Is that America, Canada, like Australia, like all these? Well, I don't know what it extends to. It could mean everywhere. I don't know. Gog, I mean, if you think about the crown, it had everywhere, like India, everywhere, right? 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they devoured them. There's a war going on down there, isn't there, in Israel and Palestine, we're told on the television. And that's been going on for 75 years. I mean, if they were planning to genocide people, if I was going to genocide people, I'd starve them to death, you know, they'd be dead in an instant. And so that's a long genocide, 75 years, and there's a lot of children in Palestine, so I'm not really sure how they're managing to have children when they're being genocided. It's strange, but beyond that, it does seem to me that there is a plan to turn people possibly against Israel, but well, not Israel, I'm not talking about Israel, but Jerusalem, the city, the beloved city. This is about Jerusalem, I promise you it is. There was once a war where everyone took a certain side, and then suddenly they were going to war against that side. Do you remember? Well, maybe something like that is happening right now, so that Revelation 8 and 9 are fulfilled, so that they destroy Jerusalem. In the time of Jesus, in the Roman Empire, the first one, they had two paths to choose, didn't they? They could follow the Antichrist or they could follow Jesus. And this time, it's only given us one choice. And I saw a great throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away, and there was no place for them. I think something's coming very, very soon, because you know, Charles has started worshipping other gods, and that's not something that's going to be acceptable to our God. It's not going to be acceptable. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death, and whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Well, I've just talked about where I had a near-death experience, and I either went to hell or I went to purgatory, and there was a man there. I didn't look up because I was too afraid. I was at hell, and they were preventing me from falling into this lake of fire, which I was at when I was dead. But here, Revelation 21, and there was no more sea. And I have always said that I believe that means no more maritime law. I believe that we will not have maritime law, and here's why we don't want it. I've talked about this case endlessly. This is all about positive law, which is statute law, which is not a positive. And it's the judgment of Lord Mansfield, which was particularly interesting. It says here, the state of slavery is of such a nature that is incapable of being introduced on any reasons, moral or political, but only by positive law. The state of slavery could only be brought in through positive law, which is a negative law, because they do that, right? Which preserves its force long after the reasons, occasions, and time itself from whence it was created. So this may well have been created in Roman times, this law, who knows, and from memory. This is what he's saying about positive law, statute law. It is so odious, because it is, that nothing can be suffered to support it but positive law. I don't think he's talking about just slavery here. I think he's talking about positive law. Whatever inconveniences therefore may follow from the decision, I cannot say this case is allowed or approved by the law of England, and therefore the black must be discharged. Slavery had never been authorised by statute within England and Wales, and Lord Mansfield found it also to be unsupported within England and the common law. We didn't have slavery. We wouldn't allow it through our case law. And now we've got masses of immigrants coming here. They're being told to throw their records into the sea so that they get stuck here, and they are becoming slaves. And then there are children, British children, who are becoming enslaved into these sex grooming gangs of the children. This is not acceptable in our country. This is our land, and we are a free land. Something's coming. Believe me, something's coming, and you know what? We're going to be okay. It's going to be rough, but we're going to be okay. There will be no more of that law. There won't be. It's written in prophecy, depending on how you interpret these things, and you have to read between the lines. When you read these sorts of things, you have to read between the lines. They are talking about statute law. It is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. The way that these slaves are coming through is through the good kind act of their Human Rights Act. So this will go. Nigel Farage has said that he'll get rid of that, and I think that's a good thing. When I look at it, you know, as soon as that goes, more legislation will go as well. And so that will hopefully happen with Armorica. You know, America is what I'm talking about. Not this one. I'm talking about the proper America. I'm still cautious about voting and politics. So here's the thing. I'm wondering if these people have taken their own injections and all of that. And perhaps that will mean that they will eventually just die from their own genocide. I mean, if these are people who are money driven, then they probably got payment from Pharmacia to say, yeah, I took the vaccine. And they probably did. They probably did for payment. And that's because Satan only has a certain amount of time, and then God will say, no, you can't do that anymore, and I'm sending you to hell, and we're going to run it different up there now. It's kind of thing, you know. Now, in that previous war, you know, where they were all saluting and then they turned away from that group of people, a lot of Germans died, which isn't really discussed at all in our history books. And there's been a long period of time where there's been this either obsession with the Anglos or phobia. And we've got that today, haven't we? We've got it's not called Anglo, but it is called, like, it's anti-white. It's like white hatred, and particularly men. It's a hatred of white men. And I just find that really interesting. It's like we're being groomed to hate white, sexist, chauvinistic men, but the reason why the Anglo-Saxons didn't have queens, which is interesting and may be relevant, is because a queen sort of caused a lot of problems, so they rejected that idea furthermore. I guess I'm just wondering, are they going after white people because they know maybe that someone else could take over from them? You know, when God comes back and changes everything and gets rid of Satan, are they trying to prevent a new monarch or something? I don't know. I'm all questions about it, but I do feel that Armorica is actually America, and there's just all this stuff to do with the Bible, Revelation 20 and 21, which is coming, and I think they're going to have to go back to Tartaria or whatever it is. I don't know if they're just trying to kill off all the Celts and the Scots and the Anglo-Saxons and the Jutes so that no one can take over from the throne, because this is a direct attack on white people that's going on. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of this, and I hope I've explained myself and sort of you can understand where I'm coming from with all of this. I'll just add this. I do have a strange love of maps, which definitely comes from my Anglo-Saxon side, and as you will see from this map, and I got this map before Brexit happened, and there was a conspiracy going around online and people were saying, oh, this is the plan, and then the fact checkers came out and said, no, this is not the plan, it was just a silly little map made. And as you can see, America, Greenland, Canada, they're all together, and this appears to be the plan of what's going on right now. And so that can be quite frightening to see that in your face and all of that. So I'd like to add a little bit right now, which will hopefully bring you hope, because it brings me hope. I can be quite a symbolic person at times, and I have this map above my bed, and there's quite a bit of symbolism to why it is all laid out the way it is. And to me, that's this bright, colourful, dazzling map above my bed, and everyone's looking at this bright, colourful map, and their eyes are glued to it in hope, whereas I look at that bright, colourful map and I just see oppression and death and murder and genocide. And below this map, which is dazzling all the other birds, is the colourful birds, which are trapped in little cages, and they are twittering amongst each other and trying to get the message out to the other birds which aren't listening about how they're in danger, and the brightly coloured map above them is deceit, and that they should ignore it and they shouldn't look at it and be dazzled by it anymore, but they are. And the colourful little birds in the cages, they have to keep on waiting in that situation, because the colourful little birds in the small cages, they understand that all of that has to be fulfilled, because to either side of them on the outside are this dark world. It's all grey and dangerous and scary and shadowy, and they've been warned about that dark and grey world, and They've been warned against it, that it could harm them and be dangerous for them. And regardless, those trapped colourful birds in the little cages, they desperately want to travel and fly into those dark, shadowy worlds. Because the colourful birds trapped in the cages, they understand that the brightly coloured map, the dazzling map, is actually a very dark and sinister map, and they would rather fly freely into what they have been told is a dark, sinister world. And they don't care, they just want to fly into that dark, shadowy world and avoid the bedazzling map. And those little colourful birds are going to lose people that they love, or other birds that they love along the way. But that has to be fulfilled. That is a plan, and it seems to be a dark plan laid out by Satan, and they have to wait in their cages. And once the plan has been fulfilled, then they'll be released from their little cages and they can go into their own dark world, which they've been told is a dark world but actually isn't. Because at the end of the day, the colourful birds trapped in the little cages, they understand that maps burn, they will burn, and they understand that, and they understand that they have to wait, and at some point that map will burn. So I'll leave it there, and I will speak to you soon.